Hey, Jason. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, you're welcome. No problem. Glad to be here.
Uh, Great. And you're, where are you located again?
I am located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Nice, nice. And since you just completed the course, I would like to get your description. If you were to describe this course in one sentence to a fellow designer, what would you say?
To be honest, I would say do not be afraid of AI. And I think you'll definitely learn more than you think you will with
Mm-hmm,
this class.
mm-hmm. And what was your relationship with AI before this course? Because that sounds like there was like some fear there before.
Yes. I knew that like the wave of AI was building and coming. And I just honestly I just wasn't sure what it was all about. AI was a thing, but I knew nothing about it. So
Mm,
that's what I would say.
yeah, we tend to fear what we don't know, right?
Right. Yes, exactly.
Mm. And what problems were you trying to solve in your career or work by joining the course?
So I'm currently in between jobs. So at the moment, so this is actually just trying to make myself, a little more marketable and to be ahead
Mhm.
of the curve, with, you know, with, with other designers to have a new tool set to learn now that I had the time and just become a better version of myself, honestly, as a designer.
So to make yourself more marketable and competitive.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, I wanted to stay more competitive in the field. And I was actually, how I was feeling about staying competitive in the market in the field was like I knew I had to learn something new, and it was it, and this was it. So basically, this was the thing that was in front of me, knocking on my door, saying, "Come learn me." So
Mhm.
this was it. Yeah.
And so, speaking of that, like, how did you hear about this particular course that you joined?
I'm on LinkedIn every day, like a lot of other people, and I came across this on LinkedIn. I saw a few of your posts, and I decided I wanted to learn a little more about it. So that's what I did.
And what made you
Yeah.
decide to take the leap and enroll?
It really was the fear of missing out, honestly, with the buzz around AI. Think I really wanted to just, like I said, it was something that I thought about, like, is this something I should really learn? Is this something I should do? And I just thought, no, like the course was financially doable for me. And I'm like, I'm just going to jump in and do it. I think it's going to, it was the time constraints were good. The class length was good. And I decided to just go ahead and jump in and take my first course.
Nice, nice. And what were you hoping to get out of it? You said that you wanted to be competitive. Was there anything?
Yes. I in a lot of the readings I was doing on LinkedIn about a lot of posts, it's like there seems to be a lot of tools, like a lot of different LLMs. I'm like, I didn't even know what an LLM was, so I had to like even Google that and understand what that was. So it's like I just wanted to at least understand the tools and if one tool was better or not than the other, depending on what I wanted to use it for. Or if one tool had a certain job that, like I said, like if one tool did one thing better than the other, I wanted to understand like what to use when, so to speak.
So you were hoping to get a better grasp of which tool to use and what use case.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And what was your biggest aha moment during the course?
I never had one aha moment, but it seemed like each class there was at least an aha moment. Every week we covered something, different topics that we covered. And so it seemed like, it wasn't, you know, just one. It was like six aha moments. And each time there was a class, I was like, oh, aha, I think that's why we're doing this. And this is why AI is the way it is, what it can do and why we want to use it, so to speak.
hmm hmm
Yeah.
And sounds like you enjoy the kind of structure learning where you build upon like the previous
Yes.
learning. Can you talk a little bit more about the structure, how that actually worked for you?
Because it seemed like what we did was instead of just listening to someone talk, it was more of an interactive situation where you as the creator of the course, you would come up with these in-class assignments that we would all work together on. So instead of it just listening to someone talk and they're leaving the class, it was hands-on working where we would actually use the tools in the class and got a better understanding of each tool versus us just listening to you talk about it. I think that would make sense.
So actually applying it during the
Yeah,
class, once we just like, okay, maybe this is the right way to do it, but you're actually doing it and learn from that.
yeah.
How do you feel about the small group collaboration, working with other people in the class? Was that important or was that like useful for you?
You know what? I think it was because there were times where I would be a little confused, not to
Mhm.
lie. And I was just like, it was a chance for me to bounce my questions off somebody else who may have understood it better than me. And it
Mhm.
was, uh, I learned from helping others as well.
Mhm.
So if the positions were switched where I knew something that somebody else did, I was able to at least help them out. So it was like a mini learning moments in between in the class themselves when we had the little breakout sessions, so to speak.
Mhm. And it's really interesting to observe from my end how you guys have different experience levels and everybody brings like
Yeah.
different to the table
Yes. Agreed.
and everybody is on the same boat, if you will, like learning about this new thing, freaking out together at the beginning. And then towards the end, you were like, what else can we do? I remember like
Yes.
at the very start, the question was about the tools, right? What tool, what
Mm.
tool, what tool? And then there was this one class, I think it was class 4, when we were like actually learning about the AI native stuff, remember?
Mhm.
And Claude wouldn't let people log in.
Yes. I remember, yeah, Claude was not happy that day.
I think that
So
was
we
like
had,
after the 4.0 update.
yes. Mhm.
But you guys still completed the thing within the half hour, like the mid hackathon thing, which is, yep.
Yeah. Because it was nice because we knew and felt safe enough to jump to another tool like Complexity to continue what we were, what needed to be done without Claude being there. So it was, it was a situation where I felt safe to be like, oh, I can just jump to this one, continue what I was working on in case this one didn't work out, which is also great to learn, knowing that other tools are there
Mhm.
and they're not that much different than a certain tool that like Claude, like everybody became like for me, Claude is like my go-to tool. Like I
Mhm.
use it every day. And so I use it every day for helping me land a new job, but it's just like, oh, if Claude is not working. I can go to Perplexity because I know that Perplexity can do similar things and they have similar
Mhm.
outcomes and results. So it's just like, but I didn't know that before this class. I just knew that Perplexity was, I didn't even know what Perplexity meant. So it was a situation where I was like, oh, I learned about Perplexity. So it was just,
Yeah, it's really cool. Like for people like us who have been in the industry for a while, right? It was
mhm,
always the
mhm,
question about what tool, like Sketch and then Figma, what's the next Figma? But now that main
yeah,
tool didn't work, like, okay, so what? We move on to the next thing. The workflow still works, so we still deliver.
right, right, exactly. Like if Figma were to crash, like what would designers use? But
Yep.
obviously, us having some knowledge in AI now, like, oh, well, we can jump to this tool or that tool, like Grok or Magic Patterns to create any UI or any UX, wireframes and prototypes we needed to build without relying on Figma, even though I'm sure Figma had its own place in this. But if that were to happen, a lot of designers who don't know about AI be like, oh no, we just
Yeah,
have to
what if
wait till it comes back.
Figma was down, right? And then all you knew was
Right.
Figma. Then you're screwed.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Like,
But
yeah, sure, you can go to Sketch or XD, but yeah, it's like going backwards in time. Like if you were to
yeah,
do that,
yeah.
I feel.
And
Yeah.
a lot of times it's not as easy because the license is issue and things like that, right? You have to install that permission. With this, you jump
Mhm.
to these other things, almost like, yeah, okay, just shrug it off and yeah, okay, move on and still deliver.
Exactly.
That
Exactly. Exactly.
that was really cool. So You also completed this capstone project, right? The bird
Mhm.
watching app during the course. Can you talk a little bit about what that was like
It
designing that?
was, it was very interesting. You know, I took my idea from my last job as to what the product I was working on. And I wanted to see if there was a way to make it better or
Mhm.
redesign or re-engineer a certain process within the app. So that was where the information for my capsule came from, was to do that.
And like in terms of the process compared to, so you did that before,
Mhm.
comparing the with AI versus without AI, what was that like?
Oh man, I mean, trying to do it without I mean, it would have taken me weeks, if not longer, to come up with that capstone. Where the capstone, honestly, if I were to do it all together instead of breaking it out in different pieces throughout the course, I say I could have done it in at least 2 to 3 days versus it being 3 to 4 weeks
Oh
easily.
wow.
Yeah, I
So,
really do think that, honestly, with how fast you can get results from AI,
mhm.
it would take have taken at least triple the time, I think, without AI to do what I did with it.
Mhm.
So yeah,
And how do you feel about the end result, the quality of the design with AI versus without AI?
I think it's a great start. I honestly think I'm not an expert in any means with AI. I actually just took this class and I don't consider myself an expert, but I consider myself at least more learned. But with probably more experience and more with lovable, I think it would have turned out in with a better result. I'm not saying it turned out to be a bad result at all. I'm just saying
Mm,
compared to doing it in Figma, probably would have gotten a better result, but it would have taken me 3 times the amount of time, yeah, just triple the amount of time to get what I got done with AI. So
mhm.
if anything, I think it's a great a launching point to anything more high fidelity, at least in my honest opinion.
Your project was one of the most built out ones. You even created the design system, right? And what
Yes.
in the end, you have the design system, and then you also, well, everybody did this, but everybody did the presentation,
Hmm.
and it seemed like you were burned out. It was just like, okay, create this, create this, create this.
Yeah, I wasn't. I mean, it was just like, it's almost like, excuse me, it's almost like experimenting with, you just have to, I think, treat AI as like a junior version of yourself who's willing
Mhm,
to go above and beyond to, to perform. And it was just me going and just typing in just prompts of what until I got what I needed. And
mhm.
it finally came down to, and honestly, with the experience that I learned through the class, it it helped me create prompts faster and more detailed to get a faster result. So that's why I didn't feel like I was so burned out at the end. I just felt like I knew what to ask it to get the
Mhm.
result I was looking
And I don't know if you share this experience, but for me, when I'm creating things with AI, sometimes I feel like
for.
because I'm making so much progress, I get pulled to the future. Oh, what if I do this? What if I do that? Did you feel that?
Right. Yes. Yeah. Where I'm like, okay, I better save this for later so I can come back to it because I don't need it right now. But it came up with a great result that I could use now and in the future.
Mm, very cool.
Yeah.
So now that
I
you completed that, right, the course,
mhm.
how do you feel about your marketability compared to when you started?
I'll be honest, I feel more confident. I've used AI to, do the typical stuff like write cover letters and help apply for jobs. But I've also used it as a to bounce ideas off of, and even to showcase my own portfolio within AI and asking if there's anything that could be done better. And it came up with a lot of stuff that I didn't know to even think about to improve my online portfolio. And to be honest, I feel very much more marketable. It's that it's feel a lot more marketable than I do now than I did before the class. And I
Mhm.
feel more confident that I know the market's in a really poor state right now, but I feel more confident that something will happen with me sooner rather than later because of my beginner proficiency with AI.
Mhm. So it sounds like you're feeling more confident because not only what you can show, but also the skill level of using AI tools to help you with a lot of different things.
Yes, exactly. Like, you know how people are like, oh, just Google it or Google this or Google that to learn more. Now I'm treating it more like, oh, let me just run it through Claude. Let me run it through Perplexity. Let me run it through Grok and see what comes out of it. And before you know, it's opening up new worlds that I've never seen before.
Yeah, again, it's so cool to hear you talk about that because again, at the very
Yeah.
beginning, it's like, which tool? And now you're like, yeah, I'll do this. I'll do that with that, with this.
Yeah.
It's like nothing, right? The
Yeah.
fear is gone.
It was like the fear of learning which one to use is gone because they all do the same thing, but some do things better than others, but they still all perform the same way. Let's put it that way.
And like
Yeah.
the FOMO of missing out on new tools, is that still there?
If anything, it's not a fear. I would say it's more of, oh, now I've learned these. What do these other ones do differently than what I've already
Mm,
learned? Like UX Pilot. Like I know that UX Pilot is a big tool for the UX UI world. And I know we didn't cover that, but it seems like that could be like before I would be afraid to learn because I wouldn't understand what it's about.
mhm.
Now that I have a solid beginner understanding of AI, I think to learn a new tool like that would take me a lot less time and I would be a lot less afraid to approach something like that. Now things like that are more approachable versus before I was hesitant because I didn't know what it was about.
Yeah, so it sounds like you got all the cards in your hand, and then sometimes there's a better card, you'll trade that, right? But you're
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
Nice, nice. So,
Mhm.
what would you say to someone watching this video who's scared about AI taking over their job?
I mean, a couple of months ago when AI was starting to come out and the wave was building, I was also afraid until I started to do more research and do some reading on my own and taking this class definitely helped. But AI is not here to take anybody's job. I would say, if anything, AI is here to help you do your job much more efficiently and faster and better. It's just like when Photoshop came out 25 years ago or whatever, how long ago it was 30 years ago. People were afraid of that. And now Photoshop is, everybody knows what Photoshop is
Yeah.
and everybody still has their jobs. So if anything, it's just learning another tool set to just be better at what you're doing.
Nice, nice. Yeah, that's the thing that I keep hearing over and over is that, yeah,
Hmm.
but experiencing it, we know it's super smart, but it's not there to take over. It still needs
Yeah.
us to guide it, right?
It still needs that human intervention to
Hmm.
really, like I said before, it's like a really hungry junior version of yourself that doesn't know what you know,
Yep.
but
Yep.
it will run and go get what you need whenever you need it.
Yep. Yep. So now speaking about the younger version of yourself, let's go back to before the course start. What would you say to your a little bit younger self before the course start?
I would say, don't be afraid. I would say, if anything, it's not as scary as you think it is. It's, I'd say just jump into it. It's once you're done with it and taking this class, honestly, it's would be, you'll feel much more confident about yourself, about what you'll be able to do, how about staying relevant in your field. And to be honest, it only opens the door to learn more. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm just taking what I've learned with your class, and I'm just learning more about MCP and about other these other buzzwords and technologies that I thought was a different language.
Mhm.
Now it's more of like, oh, okay, now I know what this is all about.
Yeah, it's like it's nothing to it, right? Once you
It's
like,
like nothing. Yes, the fear. It's almost like learning English. It's almost like learning a new language. It's like you're scared to learn it because you know it's different and it's going to be somewhat hard. But once you start it, it's not as bad as you think, because you start
Mhm.
out like training wheels. You start with training wheels, and before you know it, you take the training wheels off, and then you're just riding it around, and you're just going for it. And it's just you look back and be like, oh, it wasn't so bad.
Yeah, it's really interesting for from my end also watching how from at the very start you were like, I don't know which tool, I don't know if I should do this, and then
Yeah,
and you were like, what's the next thing? Where is the part two of this? This is just scratching the surface. I think that was like literally your word. Like, this is just scratching the surface. I want to go deep.
yeah, yeah. Right. And that was it. I think that's one of the things was my feedback when you asked for feedback was like, oh, this is great, but I want to learn more about this because we only had 2 hours for it, and it was like, with MCP and using that Zapier tool, which I thought was very interesting. And that could be a whole class on its own, like just, you know, breaking it down and just learning how to use it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, Jason, thank you very much. That was very insightful. Thank you.